What's good? What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Urban Platform Speaks. Make sure to like and subscribe as you tune into the channel. Check out the content. And with that being said, man, I want to speak on LeBron James and his legacy. Like, what will be his legacy once he retires and move on to something different after basketball. And I think it's two parts to this, right? Like, you have mainstream media trying to really hype LeBron James up and put him on a pedestal on a platform. Then you have diehard basketball fans who are pushing back against, putting LeBron James, elevating him beyond like where they think he should be, right? Because diehard basketball, like, we are not seeing what mainstream media is putting out there, right? They believe that mainstream media is pushing LeBron James to be the best thing since sliced bread. And so if you know anything about basketball and you watching basketball, then you know that this is not LeBron James, right? But LeBron James is like he's a odd case because mainstream media, the NBA, Nike, everybody want to put LeBron James on a pedestal. But the thing about LeBron James is he didn't work. Like, he could have been on that. He could have helped this case by working hard to improve his game. Right. That's one thing he could have did. But they gave LeBron James that King James motto and all that stuff. And they put him in a position and he didn't have to earn it. And so because he felt like, he didn't have to earn it, he didn't put that work in. And that's why the fan base don't back LeBron James like they would, like they back Mike, like they back Kobe, like the fan base, like they back Bird and Magic and all those guys, because those guys dedicated themselves to the game. And you can tell and you can see that those guys worked on their game year after year, right? They left everything out on the court. And so when you play like that as a basketball player, win or lose, when you play like that, you your fan base, they appreciate that and they become loyal, right? And once you have a loyal fan base, then what the NBA was doing, what as far as trying to hype them up, what ESPN was doing is trying as far as trying to hype them up, then you can sell that because you have LeBron James' performance to match what you're saying. Even if LeBron James had only won, if he'd have stayed in Cleveland and LeBron James had only won like 2 or 3 rings in Cleveland, right? The he still wouldn't be up there with Mike or Kobe, but you could still put him up there as one of the greatest basketball players ever because now he's in Cleveland. He has a loyal fan base, and that's his. You know what I mean? And that's an easier sell than somebody who has hopped around from team to team, right? And I think at the end of their career, like at the end of his career, I think LeBron James is going to realize like how important it was to stay in one city as a franchise ball player, to stay in one city and just try to, to do the best you can there. And when you see other superstars like Isaiah Thomas, who stayed in Detroit for his entire career, you know, Larry Bird stayed in Boston for his entire career. So the Boston and the Detroit fan base are loyal to those guys because they rode that, they rode the wins and the losses and all the success. They rode that with those guys, right? And when you go through things with people, you're vested. The fans will be invested emotionally, and that kind of support gives players leverage. So the media can't really come out and say anything against a player without having some type of truth to it. You can't put spin on it. Like, the media can't really come out and say anything bad about Isaiah Thomas, you know, um, because they'll get pushback from the fan base, and it's not really worth it. But when you have guys, you have a guy like LeBron James who has moved around so much, played in Miami, like Heat fans don't really have that type of emotional connection to him because he stayed there, he got some rings, and they left. They appreciate the rings, they enjoyed the winning while he was there, but he left. So it got cut off. The relationship got cut off. Same thing with with Cleveland Cavalier fans, right? They have a lukewarm relationship. Like while you're there and you're doing things, you're winning for our city. We appreciate you, but we don't feel special because the same things that you did here, you did, um, you did it in Miami. You did it in Los Angeles, and that's another thing. Like the fan base wants to feel you want to make your fan base feel like they're special, like they're a part of something because fans they're they're vested in their teams, their franchise ball players, their hero. So if you're a fan and you're vested, that works good for the organization and it works really, really well for somebody like LeBron James. Like if LeBron James had a stayed in Cleveland, um, and he had 4 championships like what he has now, from dripping from team to team, he would be much more appreciated. And it would be so much harder to push back on that GOAT narrative than it is now. Like now, so many different ways that people can push back on the GOAT narrative because LeBron James did not participate in hyping himself up. He only, he just verbally he says he's a GOAT, but he didn't really leave it out there on the court like you saw like different players do over the years, like Kobe, you know, um, tore his Achilles and refuse, what I mean, refused to be carried off the court, you know, walked off the court with that's everybody else would have got carried off the court. Somebody had to help him off the court. But Kobe didn't do that, man. And like those LA fans, man, just so passionate about Kobe. And so when you had somebody who left everything out there on the floor like Kobe, like Mike, like Bird, those, that you can't mess. You got to be as an organization. You can't really go up against that because the fan base is going to immediately push back, right? And so LeBron James, there's a battle going on with as LeBron James as far as his legacy. Like I said, you got mainstream media that's trying to tell you that he's the best thing since sliced bread. Then you have like the regular, ordinary, average fan pushing back, like that's not what I'm seeing. Especially if you've been watching basketball for over 20 years, like myself, and you've seen Kobe, you've seen Magic and Bird. It's kind of hard to tell somebody that LeBron James, is you're gonna get pushback from most people. And most of the people that I know that think that LeBron James is a GOAT are like young people. It's a younger generation who came to, they started following best. They didn't get to see Mike. So when LeBron James came to the NBA, that's when these fans became aware of the NBA, or they started following the NBA at that same around the same time. So all they know is LeBron James, right? They don't know, they caught some of Kobe because Kobe was still there. But they didn't see Mike, Magic and Bird, Isaiah, Charles Barkley. They didn't get to see all of Shaquille O'Neal. Man, so they don't, their frame of reference is just different from people who got to watch basketball from the 80s up until now. So that's the thing though, man. I think with his legacy, I think to be honest, I think as soon as the league, and this is how people do anyway, as soon as the league separates themselves from LeBron James and they don't need LeBron James, they don't care. They won't care. They won't have any interest or they won't be vested in making sure that LeBron James stay on that pedestal. Like once he leaves the NBA, Nike won't, you know what I mean? Nike don't care because they got Michael Jordan, and Mike's is still selling. They might, let me see who else. The NBA won't care because they can't promote LeBron James because he's no longer in the league, right? And so as long as he's in the league, they'll promote him as a GOAT. But after a while, that argument is going to fade. LeBron James is going to fade, and he could have avoided this, like I said, by putting in the work, and that's the thing. His true, like the truth about his legacy, I think is going to prevail once he leaves the NBA because the NBA they won't be they won't be vested. You know, they won't have any interest in upholding that what I believe is a lie, So that's my take on it. That's what I think about LeBron James' legacy. Like I said, I brought this up because I had a discussion with some people in the chat. But yeah, he didn't do anything to help his legacy. He made a lot of mistakes, which and those mistakes, like I said, it's starting to show now that his time is winding down. But once he leave the league, it's open season. Like the truth, I think will really come out. So that's my take on it. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Also, don't forget to leave a comment, and I'll check you all out in the next video. Peace.